And to talk more about the release of U.S. soldier Bergdahl and the new Taliban video, I'm joined now by Dan O'Shea. He is the Vice President of Personal Recovery, Kidnap, and Ransom at G-ROM Technologies. Dan, what do you make of this video? I mean, when you watch it as an expert in this field, what do you look for? What are the signs that you're looking at?
Well, obviously, first and foremost, we're looking to confirm Bergdahl's condition. There was thought that Bergdahl was at dire circumstances with his health. He seems to be okay. He was obviously able to walk freely to the ambulance, and he doesn't seem like he's lost any weight. He looks basically virtually the same as he was a few years ago. So that's a first positive sign that he looks healthy, and obviously there didn't seem to be major injuries. But that's being checked out right now with the doctors and in Germany.
Let me ask you this, if you would, just give us a thumbnail sketch of your background and your history and how you might look at this differently than a layman.
Well, my claim to experience in this realm was from 2004 to 2006. I was at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad with an organization called the Hostage Working Group, and I was served as the coordinator and virtually worked hundreds of these international cases, coordinating the recovery, personal recovery, and the hostage release of a number of high-profile cases. So they're all very different. Each story is unique, but there's a lot of similarities, and there's some patterns that can be deduced, even though Bergdahl was taken in Afghanistan and not Iraq.
Okay, each story is unique. What do you make of his blinking of the eyes? Does that mean that he was kept in a darkened area? I mean, can we read anything into that?
Well, that was my assumption, that obviously, he's probably been, during the day when the predators or satellites are up overhead, he would certainly not be exposed to direct sunlight and outside. So that's probably a lot of it. I mean, look at his face, the color of his complexion of his face. He's pale. He's obviously has not been out in the sun a lot, and certainly not during the daytime. So there's a combination of things. One, he hasn't been out in the sun during broad daylight often. His eyes are adjusting to that. But it's just the overwhelming sensation of what is now coming to an end after almost five long years. So I'm sure that had effect on the rapid eye blinking and just his overall condition, which he seemed to be pretty hesitant and pretty nervous, which obviously you can expect that to be the case.
Well, Dan, the transition, because you said each of these is unique, but the transition back into society after being in captivity for a lengthy period of time, that has to be extremely difficult. And then I would sense that his is unique in the sense that there's been all of these allegations kind of floating about, which has to make it even more difficult for him.
Well, I know for a fact that Bergdahl has been kept isolated. He's going through the repatriation process. He's in phase 2 right now in Germany, and they're keeping him isolated. So Bergdahl really probably has not seen the news. He probably hasn't seen any of this social media uproar. And that's going to be a storm when he comes back, and that will be a huge thing for him to deal with. And that will probably be there may be moments when he's back home and he probably wishes he was still hidden away in a cave somewhere. And I think that he has no idea the storm that he's about to face when he does come home to Haley, Idaho.
What do you make of these allegations?
Well, I have my opinions. I'm a soldier. I've served many deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there's overwhelming evidence from the members within the squad about what happened and what occurred. But I'm going to suspend judgment until Bergdahl is released and his side of the story is told. Now,
there's been two kinds of stories that have emanated. That's one. The other happened earlier today when U.S. Senator Harry Reid took to the floor in the Senate and said, look, the real story here is the United States never leaves anyone behind, and that's really important. So I want to get that military perspective from you as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree. I've lived my whole life by this code. That's a part of the makeup. I come from a community that has never left a man behind in any battle in any space. My community, the Navy SEALs, it's part of our heritage and our legacy. And I know for a fact that my teammates would die to bring another of their brothers back, wounded, dead, or alive. So this code is very important to us. But I think the question that's not being asked is that this is a shift in our U.S. policy, even though it's not officially that we don't negotiate with terrorists. Our policy was, when I was in Iraq, that we never made concessions to terrorism, and that appears that we've taken a shift in that in U.S. policy, and I think that's the bigger implication here, and the concern I have for guys like myself and the guys that will follow me that will be in these situations in the future, and they could face the very same prisoner swap situation that in the past would never even be considered on the table.
All right, Dan O'Shea joining us from Tampa. Thank you so much.